Hello and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug, and we are taking another look at the Psyker after the patch 14 update. So they have changed the meta, basically. It's not just Void Direct Staff to win anymore, and I'm going to explain why, and then we'll move on to actually having a look at what is hopefully going to replace it. So let's have a look. So the Void Strike staff, what have they done to it? Well, let me tell you. They have changed the secondary base damage from 425 to 765, and they've nerfed that down to 375 to 675. It's not a massive nerf, but it is a nerf. But that isn't really the problem. The damage was quite silly on the Void Strike staff, so reining it in ever so slightly makes sense. But when you combine that with the secondary armor modifiers that they've changed, which is Carapace is now down to 75% from 100. Unarmored has been increased, which is, good, but unarmored was never the actual problem of this staff. Flak has been reduced to 30% from 50. Unyielding, so boss damage has been dropped from 100% to 50%. It's taken quite a hit across the board. But I don't think that would have been a problem if they hadn't combined it with the other nerf, which was to increase charge time and also to decrease projectile speed. So your projectile flies a lot slower than it used to. So you'll have to be leading your shots a lot more accurately than you were before. Like if you were on the live stream last night and watched me playing around and testing with this, the staff feels very lethargic. I mean, it doesn't feel very good to play with anymore. And there's two camps of thought with this. I've been trolling through the... say trolling. Trolling in the sense of I was looking through something, not being unpleasant to people. One group thinks it's good because it knocks the Void Strike staff off the top almost auto-include to take. And there's others which I'm more inclined to agree with, that they've taken it too far with what they've done to it. There are ways around the Void Strike staff problems. For example, you can build it like this, obviously with a tier 4 Warp Nexus and Surge. But with this, you are basically only able to spec into crit, and you're having to give up a lot of toughness nodes in the tree to be able to do it. And I don't think it's worth it, honestly, at this point. So, what do we do about it? Well, we can try different staves. That's what we can do. And I'm taking a look at the Surge staff, because it actually got a bit of a boost. So the Surge staff, its unarmored damage was increased from 25 to 80. Flak was decreased slightly from 50 to 30. Unyielding was heavily nerfed from 100 to 50. Maniac was buffed from 50 to 60. Carapace wasn't changed, and Infested was buffed from 75 to 100. So this may not do what it did before patch 13, which is basically what Smite does now. It's not a all-encompassing CC staff. It is a very strong single target specialist killer. So you won't be using this to destroy hordes, but for specials, maniacs, all that sort of thing. I mean, 4 shots for a crusher isn't great, but once you've got all of your buffs rolling, it does pick up a bit. So what we're using for this, so we are trying to hit as many of the crit nodes as we can, but without sacrificing toughness. So we're grabbing Soul Stealer because it's incredibly overpowered. Well, I say overpowered, it's a keystone that you don't want to be missing. Metal and Perfect Timing, because these two combine really, really well. Warp Expenditure, Battle Meditation, another toughness gain, and Battle Meditation, 10% chance to quell, 10% peril on kill. This is quite powerful, keeps you alive, especially if we're not taking Venting Shriek. We're grabbing a sail with this to basically fill in the gap of Horde Clear. As you can see, it does quite a lot of damage against single targets, and then a sail will be more your dealing with Poxwalker hordes at range. And then you've got the trusty old Force Sword to deal with anything that comes close to you. Be warned though, they have changed most of the attack patterns on the Force Swords, but they have also received a very large buff. But just be warned, when you do first take these out for a ride, yeah, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it's a little bit weird, just because of how they've changed the initial attacks on it. Let's go back into the tree. But because we're taking a sail, we're forced to come down this side of the tree. We're not taking Mind in Motion anymore because it's not great. But Malefic Momentum does combine with your melee kills, so neither of the talents are great, and if I could avoid them I would, but going through a sail you have to take them. So after having to be melee, you do get a nice little damage buff, but not for long. This isn't great, but I mean, if you're going through a sail, you kind of have to go through one of these nodes. And Malefic Momentum is the lesser of the two evils here. We're grabbing Prescience because of the increased crit. Empathic Evasion because it's incredibly powerful still. A critical hit makes you count as dodging against range attacks. It's basically the Ghost Blessing. And we're coming through here for Telekinetic Shield with Telekinetic Dome and Sanctuary for some team helpfulness. If you prefer, you can go for the flatter shield, but the dome has been buffed quite a lot in the patch 14. Picking up another crit node here. We're not taking kinetic deflection. Picking up Warp Rider as always, and down here into Warp Siphon, Inner Tranquility, Empyrean Empowerment, Psychic Vampire, and Warp Battery. So this is just all grabbing increased power to make the staff more powerful. So as you start killing, you'll see your Warp Siphon is stacking up to 6, and this should help you hit those breakpoints that we need. So how are we building these weapons? Well, if you're going for the Demios Mark IV Blaze Force Sword, Flak, Unarmored, Slaughterer, and Uncanny Strikes. This is probably the best way to build it, but you can switch out Unarmored for Carapace or Unyielding if you prefer, but I'm still using it as a Horde clear weapon, so I prefer the Unarmored and Flak, as that is what you're going to be coming up most against. And also with the current meta for Zealots and Veterans with crack grenades and heavier firepower, you don't have to worry too much about Bulwarks and Crushers. And for the Surge Force Staff, we've gone with Unyielding for some boss damage and Flak armoured enemies, with the Blessings of Warp Nexus and Warp Flurry for increased crit and decreased charge time. Though do be warned, with Warp Flurry you will be needing to watch your perils a little bit more because we don't have a way to vent them. And for the Curios, we've gone for max health with combat ability regeneration, damage resistance gunners, and toughness. Max health, combat ability regeneration, and damage resistant gunners again. And 1 wound, some toughness, combat ability regeneration, and damage resistant snipers. As gunners and snipers are going to be the things that are going to tear you to absolute pieces. So this is the Assail version. I am working on a Smite version for this, which looks something like this. And it does go into empowered psionics to make Smite slightly better. But we are missing a few key points in this, so I will say the Smite build isn't quite ready yet to be taken out and saying, yeah, this works perfectly. It needs a bit more testing, but if you want to try it out, go for it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that the Surge 4 staff is the new meta, but Void Strike staff certainly has been defanged. So until we figure it out, I will be chucking out some guides, and hopefully we shall see what you guys think. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please like, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And until next time, take it easy, and I shall see you later.